NASCAR Cup Series champion Kyle Larson will give the double another shot in 2025 after Mother Nature ruined his chances of competing in the 109th Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 on the same day earlier this year. Now, hopefully everything goes according to plan next time around, with Larson completing 500 miles in his number 17 Arrow McLaren Chevrolet IndyCar, and then flying from Indianapolis to Charlotte to run 600 miles in his number 5 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet stock car. Now, Larson will join McLaren's 4-car effort for the month of May alongside Pato O'Ward, Nolan Siegel, and Christian Lundgaard. Despite not having experience in IndyCar racing, Larson proved to be a quick learner after making it to the Firestone Fast 6 and qualifying 5th for the Indy 500. In the race, he was having a strong run until the pit road speeding penalty set him back to an 18th place finish. Larson said he had a good experience during the first time in the month of May at Indy, but felt disappointed in how things ended due to the weather delaying the start of the race, which forced him to later miss the Coca-Cola 600. But he feels like there's some unfinished business and wants to complete all 1,100 miles because he thinks he can still battle for the win in both the Crown Jewel events. McLaren CEO Zach Brown said Larson is one of the most talented drivers in racing and called it a privilege to do it again with Rick Hendrick and Jeff Gordon, the graphic courtesy there of Arrow McLaren. Matthew's with me for this bit. Good evening to you, Matthew, as well. So with an Indy 500 under his belt, can Kyle Larson enter the May 2025 as one of the early favorites? And how excited are you about him getting another double attempt?
Well, I'm always excited for an Indianapolis 500, Josh. You know that.
Yeah.
257 days away. I'm very excited. I think we all kind of assumed this was going to happen after the unfortunate circumstances that happened this past year. This is very exciting, though. And hopefully this is just going to continue opening doors for more people to do this. I've always said I would love to see an IndyCar driver, full-time IndyCar driver try to do it, try to do the 500 and the 600. Maybe we'll get there. Get back to that, because obviously John Andretti, I think, was mostly known as an IndyCar driver when he tried it. Even when Tony Stewart tried it for the first time in 1999, he was more known in the IndyCar world than he was in the NASCAR world. He was a rookie back then. But this is incredibly exciting. Larson was 6th with 80 laps to go in this year's race and was running basically in that portion of the field, coming to that pit stop where he got caught for speeding. That was with about 60 or so laps to go. That took him out of contention. Since then, he's won more NASCAR races. He's won at Indianapolis in the Brickyard 400, number 1 seed in the playoffs. Obviously, very terrifying crash this past weekend in Atlanta, but we very well may be going into that 500 in a roughly 250 days, talking about Kyle Larson as the defending NASCAR Cup Series champion, the defending Brickyard 400 winner, the defending Indianapolis 500 Rookie of the Year, and having a really good chance to win the 500. We know more than likely he's going to be in a very fast car. As you mentioned, extremely strong performance in qualifying, making it all the way to the Fast 6 and the run for the pole. This is going to be not only exciting because it's happening again, but if we can just wake up to that Sunday and not have any threat of weather, it's almost going to be like it's happening for the first time. Because, and Josh, you'll remember this because you were covering the day as well, just as I was. It was almost a sense of dread. The entire week, the forecast was showing 70, 80, 90% chance of rain. We knew it was coming, and it just never... those rain chances never broke away. And in the back of your mind all week long, Monday and then Wednesday and then Friday, and then God help us when we got up Sunday, it's like, what's going to happen here? Is he going to have a chance to run the entire race? Because, I mean, that was a car that very much had a chance of winning. And I just can't imagine how, I mean, you could hear him almost depressed how he sounded talking to NBC, because he knew what the delayed start meant. So we'll see what happens this year. Hopefully we won't have to deal with any weather, but if all stays clean, I was going to say clean and green, but green isn't clean on a radar, is it? If all stays clean weather-wise, it's going to be tremendously exciting because he can win both of these races. And you know, the last few years, I've said multiple times, if Helio Castroneves wins a 5th Indianapolis 500, it's the greatest moment in motorsports history. If Kyle Larson wins the Indianapolis 500, then flies to Charlotte, and God help us, wins the Coca-Cola 600, that's the greatest achievement in motorsports history, perhaps. It's certainly got to be talked about at the very least. So this is going to be an amazingly exciting attempt once again next year.
I still remember the night that Mo Farah did the double in London in 2012. Super Saturday. We had a gold medal every 90 minutes in the athletics as well. And it was absolutely fantastic. So definitely it would still be talked about. Saying that, I can just look down and see the London Olympics. I brought the box set as well. It's all down there, just under my desk as well on the chair. As I previously mentioned, then Larson did miss was the priority over NASCAR's longest race. And since he missed the race at Charlotte, he didn't score any points. Ended up costing him in a big way later on. Tyler Reddick ended up winning the regular season championship, which comes with a bonus of 15 playoff points. Now, Reddick beat Larson by a single point, meaning if Larson had chosen to leave Indy early and make the race start at Charlotte, he would have been this year's regular season champion and collected the additional points. Now, although things didn't go as expected, Rick Hendrick said that Larson's double attempt was good for HendrickCars.com from a sponsorship perspective because it measured a 3-to-1 return on their investment. However, unlike Larson's first Indy 500, Hendrick says that the Coca-Cola 600 will be the main priority as well this time around. So if Larson finds himself in a similar weather situation, or if he's leading the Indy 500, but running out of time to make it to Charlotte, they'll have to pull the plug on Indy and get him to the NASCAR race. Tony Kanaan would be Larson's driver on standby as well. This comes after NASCAR officials took a long time to decide whether or not to give Larson a waiver to give him playoff eligible as well. First of all, if he's leading the Indy 500, he's staying in that car, no matter what they'll say beforehand. If he's 30 laps to go and leading, he is staying in that car, even if there's a red flag, like Alonso had a couple of years ago. He is staying in that race as long as possible. So, do you think missing out on the regular season championship by 1 point caused Hendrick to prioritize Charlotte over Indianapolis? And could it also be a sign that NASCAR's waiver was just the one-time thing?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of those two things. The regular season championship, certainly meaningful. And as you mentioned, losing out in that battle by 1 point. Had he gotten to Charlotte and started the race, completed one lap, and that was it, finished last, he receives 1 point. He and Reddick would have ended the season tied on points, and Larson would have won the tiebreaker based on the wins that he has over Reddick. So, yeah, a last place finish at Charlotte. He's the regular season champion. It's an additional 6 playoff points. And after a crash at Atlanta in the opening race of the playoffs, he could probably use 6 additional playoff points. So, yes, I would think that did have something to do with it. And you mentioned the other point, too, that maybe, and I'm not in any way reporting this, maybe this does stem from someone inside the powers that be just whispering in Rick Hendrick's ear or Kyle Larson's ear that we're not going to give you this waiver a second time. We did you a favor by doing it once. We're not going to do it a second time. I don't know if that's what happened. People are certainly thinking that may have happened. So, yes, obviously, I do think a combination of those two things is the reason why they are going to prioritize Charlotte. But to your point, if we get like an hour red flag for whatever, crash, rain, whatever, and Kyle Larson is leading the Indianapolis 500 with 30 laps to go, and the clock is ticking on when he needs to get to the helicopter to make it to Charlotte in time. I'm sorry, you would have to be the most insane person in the racing world to think that he would step out of that car. It's the Indianapolis freaking 500, okay? Just stop with that. Are you kidding me? Also, I just wanted to bring this up because I am constantly whining about start times. We did used to start this 500 at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Used to do that for decades upon decades, and it didn't change until 2005. Then at 2005, we decided to start it at the 12 o'clock hour. Now we're back. What are we starting it at now? Are we starting it almost at 1 o'clock?
It's about 6:30. 1:34 was the green flag time this year. So that was 6:34 over here in the UK.
Yeah, so we're getting very close to 1 o'clock start times for the 500.
It would start like 4 o'clock this year because of the rain and that lot.
Oh yeah, for sure. So if we could at least get that back to noon, maybe that would help. But I'm just saying that because I'm in favor of early start times and tradition. But
Monaco.
Oh yes. Yeah, Monaco. Yeah.
2 years running, we've had problems with Monaco. It's like we only just get there. If it wasn't for the rain delay, we would have missed it because Perez decided to be a wrecking ball.
But this is going to be exciting. Can't wait for it. Like I said, I hope that sometime soon we get an IndyCar driver do it. I don't know who that would be. I know everybody looks at Newgarden as someone that could maybe step into a stock car on an oval and do things, but I'm not sure if Roger Penske would be very keen on that. But it would be nice if we could get 2 people doing the double. One from the NASCAR side, one full-time NASCAR driver, one full-time IndyCar driver. It'd be nice. Maybe Connor Daly.
Yeah. Daly is the one who could do it easily. If Max Chilton was still in, I would have thrown his hat into the ring because Chilton is good on stock car and in normal car. If anyone watched the Goodwood Revival over the weekend, that was good. Oh, and yeah, by the way, Jimmy Johnson, you might like to know, did win a race as well. Jimmy Johnson and Dario Vanchitti did win together over the Goodwood Revival weekend. I believe they won the RAC trophy I was commentating on, if memory serves me correct. So, yes, and he was frantic, Jimmy Johnson, because the safety car came out and it locked the pit lane and he didn't know if he can come in or not. So he's frantically gesturing, can I come in? Can I come in? Because there's no radios, because they're classic cars. But yeah, they did win.
Max Chilton, by the way, who led the most laps in the 2017 Indianapolis 500. Just saying.
Yeah.
It was also the race where Ed Jones finished 3rd and Fernando Alonso finished 24th, but they gave Alonso Rookie of the Year over him.
Popularity contest. I mean, did Kyle Larson really deserve this year's Rookie? Let's be fair.
Well,
some others.
Christian Rasmussen was amazing.
I would have given it to Christian, to be fair. And Rasmussen still is actually being impressive. See how he gets on.